Well, Admiral Frank Mitch Bradley told lawmakers this week that Secretary of War Pete Hegseth never issued a kill them all directive ahead of a U.S. strike on a suspected drug smuggling vessel in the Caribbean. But a dramatic video of the mission on September 2nd alarmed Democratic politicians, with some questioning the operation as unlawful. Military officials maintain, though, the strike was legal and targeted a dangerous criminal operation that resulted in 2 survivors being killed.
Well, let's welcome in retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel and former senior advisor to DHS under Mayorkas, Lieutenant Colonel Bernie Flowers. Welcome to you, sir. Plus Professor of Foreign Affairs and Public Policy Analyst Sierra Knock. Welcome to both of you.
Good morning.
Welcome, guys. We want you to take a listen to Senator Tom Cotton. He was in this closed-door briefing, and he defended the boat strikes on September 2nd. Take a listen, and we'll get your reaction.
The first strike, the second strike, and the third and the fourth strike on September 2nd were entirely lawful and needful, and they were exactly what we'd expect our military commanders to do.
I mean, Colonel Flowers, do you agree with the senator here? Did Admiral Bradley follow the law when he ordered the additional strikes on September 2nd?
Good morning. First of all, as a person who has been on these kinds of deployments, before the first boat leaves the port, before the first airplane launches, we've got rules of engagement. And commanders know that you need to stay within those rules of engagement. So the Admiral is correct. The Senator is correct. There is no expectation that the commander went outside of those rules of engagement. So yes, the Senator is correct.
Let me ask you something. Democratic Senator Chris Coons is not totally satisfied. Take a listen, and then we'll talk about what he said.
I have more policy questions than ever about the framing of the mission, the rules of engagement. I'm not going to get into the details, but there were some things that I was briefed on that are reassuring about process, about intelligence, about the role of the JAGs. But more broadly, what we are asking the men and women of our armed forces, and in particularly special forces, to do, I think still lacks clear justification.
He's saying that the military should not be defending our coastlines from narco-terrorists. Let me get your thoughts on this.
Sierra?
Yes, well, I would say that we need to remember the mistakes of the past. And unfortunately, we have had, our military has a great track record, but we have made mistakes and we've learned from them. And we don't need to go back and make those mistakes again. And when we do send our men and women out on a mission, we cannot send them out on a mission with their hands tied behind their back. So I would disagree with the senator's characterization of what happened on those strikes.
And you know what? I'm so glad you said that, because the Democrats keep talking about the international rules of war. Those rules are not made by the people in the U.S. And our law derives its authority from the sovereign authority of the people who make the laws, our representatives and the people who elect them, not bureaucrats in Europe or UN officials who make these rules of war. What do you say about that? Go ahead and follow up on that.
Oh, I would agree with that. I think that, the law of armed conflict, that's been cited by the White House. It's been discussed in the Pentagon, and that is the U.S. law. And it aligns with the American ethics, the American way of life. It's about protecting our homeland. And so the American people, support our military to follow our laws. And with other people, other senators, who are concerned about another country.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Europeans have not been supportive or helpful in us taking on this mission. So I'm not sure why we care what they have to say.
Really a good point, but I do want to turn now to the latest involving that possible peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matthew Whitaker, speaking at the DOHA forum in Qatar, talked about the progress made on a peace deal with a Spanish news agency, saying, quote, "You could say we are close to peace, closer than ever. Whitaker continued, this will not be peace at any price, since ultimately the Ukrainian side will have to accept any agreement reached, and the Russian side will have to demonstrate a sincere desire to end this war. I guess, Colonel, I want to get your take on this. Are we going to see a peace deal soon? Do you think that's an accurate assessment of where we are? Because we are dealing with Vladimir Putin and the Russians. We know how much they like to play games. Are we close, and do you think we're going to see peace before the end of the year?
Before the end of the year, that's a tough one right there. But I like to see the idea of progress. I mean, it's kind of like 3 yards in a cloud of dust in football. We're moving towards a goal, you know. But the issue of the day is, yeah, we just can't afford this anymore. It's a dangerous precedent to be, you know, having a nuclear armed adversary involved in a proxy war. We shouldn't have never gotten ourselves involved in this. And I know that the president's doing everything he can to make this stop, and I support him 100%.
Yeah, they never should have been allowed to invade, and this wouldn't have happened if Donald
That's
Trump
right.
had been the
And
president.
remember when the previous president said, well, they're just going to invade a little.
Yeah, that's right. Just a little.
They're just gonna,
Such a good point.
just a minor incursion.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel Bernie Flowers, Sierra Knock, thank you so much for being with us this morning. To you both, we appreciate your insights.
And
Have a great
up
day.
next.